Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to another Arena Open, this time the Aetherdrift Arena Open. As always, this is your way to win potential cash prizes on Arena by playing some limited magic. So it's always sealed day 1 and best of 3 draft day 2. This time around it is Aetherdrift, so Aetherdrift best of 1 sealed, trying to get 7 wins before 3 round losses. If you accomplish that, you make it to day 2, where you have to play and win a best of 3 draft to make it to best of 3 draft number 2, where you then have a chance of winning up to $2,000 in cash prizes. So very high risk, high reward events with a super high entry fee at 5,000 gems or 25,000 gold. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about it. We unfortunately did not get there on our first try this time around, so we're back in there, gonna just completely empty the account here, go down to 0 gems to give this Arena Open a second shot here. So without further ado, let's bust open the packs and see what we get to play with today. All right, I think our rares are even better than last time for sure. We have 2 great white rares, an excellent removal spell, as well as a full-on board wipe. There's also Zahur towards a black-white start your engines deck. Zahur and Perilous Snare play really well together. There's a speed demon to be upping our speed, drawing a bunch of cards as well. Huge flampily threat too, so it's very hard to stop the damage output that this thing can bring. We've got a Quag Feast. This one's more mediocre. It's kind of finicky removal in like the Orzhov decks. It's really good in Golgari. But we also have Mu Yanling, which is ridiculous. 2/4 plus a 3/2 vehicle, plus the vehicle has flying, plus when you deal damage with your flying creatures, you draw cards. She's pretty absurd. Mindspring Merfolk. Every single rare is a good rare in this sealed pool, and there's a lot of directions we can end up going, especially if we open up some mana fixing. I mean, we've got Chandra, we got Boommobile. It's just, yeah, this is beautiful. This is so much better in terms of rare power level than our first sealed pool. So that's already pretty exciting, but we are going to need some fixing ideally and or some great synergistic commons and uncommons to get this really going. So let's take a peek at the rest of the sealed pool, shall we? Starting off with the mana fixing, there's a starting column and a night market we can run in any deck. If we're really low on removal, we actually have a couple scrap compactors. That's actually also exciting, because I think our last sealed pool had like 4 removal spells in the whole pool. So it really could have used some scrap compactors. It was like 2 of the white removal spell, the Ride's End, 1 Grim Bauble, 1 Lightning Strike. I think that was literally every removal spell in the whole sealed pool. So this time around, again, scrap compactors are nice. Shove those in anything that didn't get enough removal. The rest of these commons, though, very filler. Are there any uncommons that push us in a specific direction? Having 2 copies of Broodwagon sort of does. I mean, it's going to be hard when we do have so many powerful rares in the sealed pool and none of them are in green. It's going to be hard to justify that. Moving into green for this instead of just playing the other colors for the other more powerful rares. But if our green is just really good, this is great top end for a Golgari deck there. So I do like that. 2 copies of that is pretty sick, but that's kind of it. 1 Apocalypse Runner, I mean, that's fine, but it's not super going to push us in that direction. Then 1 Dismal Backwater for dual lands. So we don't really have the duals going for us, but hey, we got a lot of other stuff going for us in the sealed pool. So let's see what we got. Start off with the white, as always, just going through in Warburg order, because that's easy to do on Arena. We have a very powerful color here. It's a little bit slow for a max speed deck, but quite powerful. Yeah, all 3 of our 2-drops are playable. One of them does start our engines to help out all of the max speed synergy cards like our Zahur rare if we go black-white. That's what I was talking about with the, if we try to play a start your engines deck. The Zahur there helps a lot. Perilous Snare is really good with the max speed decks as well, because it's your 3-mana removal spell to clear out their blockers so that your 2-mana creature hits them. So you play it, exile the blocker, start your engines, attack with your 2-mana 2/2, raise your speed, be at 2 speed out of the 4 you need for this to start grinding out the long game with all those +1/+1 counters. This card is excellent for the start your engines archetype. So yeah, black-white looks like a really exciting spot for our white cards to be in. It has some good synergy for that, particularly, again, the Perilous Snare, but also having a few 2-drops helps a lot. Having 1 that starts your engines is huge, and some solid flying threats later. Swiftwing Assailant, broadcast rambler style stuff. This does make a Thopter token. Those are also good ways to chip in and just raise your speed like 1 in the late game. So yeah, really like the whites. The blue is also insane. It's kind of a completely different direction to go here, where it can grind out a long game super well. If we're going for a really long game, we have a huge X mana draw spell. We have 2 Ether Siphons, which can mill your opponent out if you're in a big board stall, and also draw you a ton of cards throughout the game. The very powerful Mu Yanling, that's going to draw us a lot of cards, especially with other flyers in the sealed pool. Few Ghost Glitch Surveyors, the Skystreak Engineer. We've got some flyers in our white as well if we go for like a blue-white deck here. Blue also looking like a fantastic color. It's got okay interaction. It doesn't have the Flood the Engines, which I far prefer to Special Interference, but these are still fine filler counter spells to try to stop your opponent there. So yeah, white also, or sorry, blue also looking quite good. I do like the white a little bit better. I am very partial to like Perilous Snare and Spectacular Pileup. But again, blue, Merfolk, Aether Siphon's got a lot of power of its own. Now we have our black here, which gives us some more cheap creatures to help work on our speed. 2 Deathless Pilot and an Engine Rat if we were going Orzhov. The curve looks solid. Not a bunch in the middle of the curve, but again, just having a bunch at 2 or 1 mana is really what you need to get the speed going. And it really helps the top end of the max speed kind of deck. It gives us Speed Demon, it gives us Oil Gorger and Necro Regent. All 3 of these are great in decks that are trying to get to max speed. Oil Gorger, a little more filler, just pretty good. But Necro Regent and Speed Demon are absurd. If you're at maximum speed when you play Necro Regent, you're getting another 2/2 zombie every single turn, including the turn you cast it. The Speed Demon just flamples over for 1,000,000, draws a ton of cards as well. We've got great cheap removal. Double Grimbauble here. Locust Spray is playable. Last time I ran it was in a Rakdos draft, in a traditional draft, and I ran 1 copy main deck, 1 in the sideboard, and I ended up siding in the second copy almost every single time. So I think this actually played pretty fine there to where I would just main deck it here. Risky Shortcut's another card that can raise our speed, so I love that as well. I think Orzhov is probably going to be the most synergistic way we could build this sealed pool. It might be slightly lower on power level, just because we have like nothing in the middle of the curve here, but it looks like a really synergistic archetype with good removal thanks to Double Bauble, Quag Feast being okay, and of course the really good Perilous Snare and Spectacular Pileup, Board Wipe in a pinch, the Gallant Strike being great too. Yeah, really solid looking color pair. I'm really excited about that. That's kind of what I want to do, but again, blue is so strong that other options are 100% viable as well. Check out the red now. And the red is also good. Everything in the sealed pool is good. Now this one I would say is just good. I think our white, our blue, and our black are great, whereas the red's just good. The creatures are all really quite mediocre, except Thunderhead Gunner in my opinion. Even Tyrox is very high power, but the 1 toughness means it always just trades into another 2-drop, which plays perfectly fine, but nothing to write home about. We've got Thunderhead Gunner, which is great. We've got Boommobile, which is great. Crash and Burn is fine removal, and Chandra's a solid bomb, but again, just because of how absurdly good our other colors are, red really just looks good rather than great. It's very cute that we have 3 Ironclads to cycle to try to push the limit late game as well. That's very funny, but I think we have more consistently powerful things in our other colors. But again, it just goes to show how ridiculously good this sealed pool is, that we have not had a bad color yet. And finally, last but not least, is green. And I would say last but not least, well, in this sealed pool, honestly, this is probably least. There's no removal here, but there's just really good creatures, right? Double Hazard of the Dunes, Stampeding Scurryfoot, Ketrodon at the top of the curve, Earth Rembler for a massive 5-drop. Just really good green beef all around. Broken Wings is main deckable in this format. This is a perfectly fine green deck here. It's just not, again, excellent. There's no runovers here. There's not like an insanely good curve, but it has some of the best green commons, being those great late game plays, the Double Hazard, the Ketrodon, the Scurryfoot. Green is really good too. It might actually be better than the red, thinking about it, but I really don't think it's better than our Esper stuff. Yeah, I mean, red's curve is a little awkward. The synergy is not super there. I think our green is better than our red, so it is last but not least. But again, I think there is still a little bit of a gap between the green and the Esper here. Again, it's just entirely focused up on the creatures. It might be better than blue. I don't know. Yeah, maybe this is just an Atraxa sealed pool. It's white, blue, black, green. I definitely don't have the fixing to do all these colors. We just have one starting column and one night market. I really do just want to go Orzhov Zahur. Like, that has the benefit of getting some just cheese out aggro curves while still having excellent late game plays. Cards like Necro Regent and Speed Demon that take over the long games as well. Spectacular Pile Up. If things start getting away from us, we can just fully board wipe. I really, really, really like our black-white deck. I would like to go with that, if at all possible, and I think in this sealed pool it is very possible. So we just cut all these random non-creature cards. I do have to put one more card back, and we could throw a Scrap Compactor in here, I think. I don't think there were any artifact creatures we'd play in here. What is our creature count? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh yeah, we're not cutting anymore. I guess 14. Broadcast Rambler 100% counts as a creature. So 14 is not horrific, but ideally I'd be more like a 15 creature deck. Which is like I could play Ticket Tortoise or Ether Jacket or something. I guess I'm low on the 3 drops. I got the 1 Quick Welder, so Ether Jacket would not be horrendous. Definitely will still play a Night Market here. It could be better than like a Scrap Compactor when I already have Double Bobble, Locust Spray, Perilous Snare, Gallant Strike, Quag Feast. Probably, yeah. Boommobile's double reds. It's not really splashable. This is part of the awkward part, though, right? All of our best rares aren't exactly splashable. We need double blue for Merfolk. We need double blue for Moo. We need double blue for Speed Demon. Or sorry, double black for Speed Demon. Double white for Pile Up. Double red for Boommobile. It's gonna be difficult to be like 3-color splashing in something for just raw power here when all of our strongest cards are double pipped. We would need to get 2 of our splash color to cast them, which means it would take quite some time on average to get to casting those cards. I mean, even like the Brood Wagons, even the really strong uncommons are like double, trying to splash those in. I mean, I guess you could like splash in like an Earth Rumbler or something over playing a Scrap Compactor or an Ether Jacket or something, but that doesn't feel worth it. Try splashing Chandra. She's cute. I don't have any more duels towards that. I also probably have to play Starting Column, which I don't love, in like a Start Your Engines pretty aggressive deck like this. Yeah, wow. This sealed pool is going to be contentious no matter how I build it, because everybody has their own purpose. Everybody has their own preferences for archetype and everything like that, and we could really go a multitude of directions with this one. But I do feel with the just sheer quantity of double blue, double red, double white, double black kind of rares that this is much more likely a 2-color deck at best, maybe splashing in like a Chandra, whichever way you want to build it. And I don't really think I want to splash the Chandra here over just being more consistently 2-color. I'm just going to play the Flying Vigilant card. That's perfectly fine at chipping in for a little bit of engines rising in speed and giving us our 15th creature for our Start Your Engines deck. I think this looks really powerful and really consistent. This is the most synergistic build that we could go for sure, even if other builds might have a little bit higher card power level on average. I'm really happy with the synergy we have going here. And yeah, I'm just going to call it here. We're going to go a little faster on the deck building here, get through this run a little quicker, and fingers crossed, maybe even get through. Yeah, I like this deck better than our first one, and our first one we still managed to go 5-3 with, so my hopes are high here. I will play the best I can. Hopefully we can draw pretty well as dodge super scary decks from our opponents, but this looks like a sweet one, and I'm really excited to see how it does. So without further ado, let's hop into the gameplay. All right, here we are for game one. This is a really mediocre hand by the average power level of spells in our deck, but I really don't think we can mulligan the 2-color hand with very viable plays turn 2, turn 3, and turn 5. We're set up for the early game, the mid game, the late game. We'll keep this. Our opponent has taken a couple mulligans, which also helps us for sure. And they are on the play. Let's see what they got going. Play an island and pass. Let's drop that swamp so I could Locust Spray if they play a 2-mana 2/1 here. Spectacular Pile Up, another great draw. If they manage to get ahead on board. Here's Deathless Pilot, which is also super nice to play into a board wipe, because we just bring it back later anyway. Cycle a Ketcherdon, so a blue-green deck from our opponent. There's a Perilous Snare. When they have no permanents on board, that's not really good, so we'll just risky shortcut. Draw a couple cards. There's a Speed Demon to top off our curve now. Go really big real early here. That seems quite powerful. I mean, not real early, but early enough. Our opponent is still stuck on double blue, which is obviously great for me. Okay, they're just going to concede here because we're thinking that's fair enough. They're in a really bad spot. I think this is a turn that we need to just start cycling cards, right? I think we're enough ahead. We even have to consider cycling the board wipe, the Spectacular Pile Up. But for sure, at least cycle Locust Spray or Gallant Strike. And I think we cycle Gallant Strike, right? Because this is early enough in the game that, like, if they start hitting lands here, it's going to be much more important to be able to kill the small little blockers than have something that can kill something with toughness 4 or greater. That's not going to happen until they have at least 4 lands, which is 2 turns from now at the absolute earliest. So, and then even if they do, we just Perilous Snare it in the first place. So I think it's definitely cycle Gallant Strike, and then depending on the draw, really consider cycling the Pile Up as well, just in interest of getting the second black mana to really try to jam in on them. But ideally, if we're really lucky there, we like cycle Gallant Strike and just hit a 2-drop and play that, and then move on from there. But yeah, super rough for our opponent. The double mulligan still had to keep a mono-colored hand there and just did not draw out of it. So start things off 1-0, heading into game number 2. Here we are for game 2 on the play. Love the hand. Really sad when you have the Necro region in hand and no way to start your engines before turn 5. Because again, the later in the game that you start your engines, the less likely you are to actually raise your speed, because the board's going to be so much more cluttered up at that point, although Spectacular Pile-Up's a way to maybe help that out. We are playing against a black deck. Rakdos, that is a potentially quite aggressive color pair, so I wouldn't mind trying to play towards Pile Up here and just play towards value in hand with cards like Risky Shortcut and allow our opponent to play to the board while we play towards hitting Pile Up mana. Okay, awkward draws, 2 non-lands. That actually does make me really happy I cast the shortcut though, because now we're 2 cards closer to the lands. Had I just ran out like a Quick Welder or something this turn, we'd still be miles away from the next land draw. Magmakin Artillerists, perfectly fine. I mean, I will slam dunk Trade Pilot into Goda if they want to do that. Yeah, I guess they do for the treasure. But Pilot can come back from the grave later. And just stopping some damage here is fine. Yikes. 3 for 3 on no land draws this game. Well, I gotta play something to the board here. I can't really just double bobble Artillerists, so I suppose we just play the 2/4 Quick Welder, best blocker. Deathless Pilot's not a bad play either, because then again, we're playing a creature that can come back later into the board wipe. But I'll just play the best blocker for now. Try to force them into a bit of a wider board state if they want to get through. Risen Necro Region, okay. They're just now starting their engines and they can't raise their speed. 1 mana Sundial's pretty cute, but I really need mana here. These draws are bad. I might have to just double bobble Necro Regent, and then I have the Surveil ability available. It hurts to 2 for 1 myself, but when I have an upcoming 3 or even 4 for 1 off of a board wipe, just the interest of getting there is that great. I'm not going to play Sundial into the... Well... Yeah, no, I'm not going to play Sundial into the board wipe just yet. I already have blocks on board. I could see the argument. Again, with a potential upcoming 3 or 4 for 1. But then I'm turning into like a 2 or 3 for 1 instead. This blows up vehicles too. Yes, it does. Okay, I'm going to do this for the draw, because if I find a plains, I can still play Sundial this turn if I really need the blocker up. And I don't think I do. Swamp, swamp. Awkward, because I need a plane specifically. How many planes do I have in here? 7 planes? I have equal amounts of white and black mana in this deck, which means milling both of these. So there's 7 planes left in there, and a night market. I kind of feel I have to keep, like, the 1 here. I'm at 18. I mean, if they start slooping me, it's not that bad. But then any land gets us to Oil Gorge or Necro Regent from here, and we still got 1 card closer to the plains. Yeah, I don't love it. But this, actually more importantly, allows me to crack the other bauble and play Sundial next turn. Monument to Endurance is really not the kind of card we want to see. We need them to be playing a bunch of creature-based threats and not stuff that lasts through the board stall, or the board wipe. Because yeah, now every cycling card they have is a draw 2, or it drains me for 3. Boosted Sloop triggers that every turn, which is also really bad. Yeah, that's very much not the card to see here. Because now they just draw an extra card every turn from the Boosted Sloop. So I gotta threaten the double block off Sundial next turn. Okay, now if I crack Bauble in my upkeep next turn, I'm still not playing Pile Up anyway. So let's actually just not upkeep Bauble. And then I can, if I don't draw land, just play Sundial and Bauble later. If I do, I have the option to immediately Pile Up. Okay, we don't hit the land, so... I can Ether Jacket to blow up the monuments, but it doesn't have haste, so I'll have to wait a turn to blow that up. But I could play the Ether Jacket plus the Deathless Pilot, and the Deathless Pilot allows me to double block Sloop. Forces them to play to the board, maybe use some removal type stuff. I mean, Sundial, again, is also already big enough to force them to play to the board, and then the Bauble for another 2 mil. If I had a Plains in the top 19 at that point, I'll have double white. Or if I had 2 planes and then in the top 19 at that point, I'll have double white. But really, you know, a plane's in the next 3 cards. But there's 7 more in there. I feel like the odds are good enough. I'm going for the planes. And threatening the double block on Sloop to stop the Monument to Endurance combo. Thank you for playing to the board. That is what I need right now. Oh, they draw a card, discard a card off Sloop, whether or not it's the card that attacks. Yeah, that's rough. So then Monument draws another card here. No. I need you to be out of stuff post-board wipe, but you're just drawing an extra card every turn. No. Yep. That's horrible. Oh, they go for the treasure. Oh, please use that on a 1-drop creature. That'd be wildly good for me. It's quite unlikely. But it's possible. Okay. Still feels better than if they drew the extra card for me here. There we go. Plains. Swift thing will be okay. I think I'm more interested in digging closer to more removal, though. Okay. So I blow up Oil Gorger, Dynamite Driver, Artillerist, and Sloop. Trading Quick Welder and Sundial into them. They have 3 cards left to play around with. But one of them is a Monument to Endurance. But it's a monument without the sloop. It's got to be pure cyclers from there. Yeah, I mean, I'm at 10 life. I'm taking 3 in the sky. They're triggering monument again. I can't wait on this. I gotta go for it. So I get the kill on the diver. Yeah, I still just can't not do that. Okay, cycle locust spray, fair enough. It's really good with monument though. They go for the lose 3. Oh boy, it's just gonna be cycle, cycle, I lose 6. Rough. I mean, if I cast Ether Jacket last turn, I could only blow up monument here and then still just die. Okay, not dead yet. I have to Ether Jacket for sure to stop them having the top deck cyclers as an out. Again, 2 cycles kills me, so if they have a cycle card in hand, you just cycle that thing right now. Choose to deal 2 to everybody instead, because then I can't Ether Jacket the monument. That is fair. I don't believe we play around haste here. I think I need to get my engines going for Necro Regent ASAP, so we go 2 speed this turn. My god, alright. Well, they're down to 1 card over there. I'm gonna hold this. They're on black. There is a discard 1 spell in the format. Land pass. Okay, okay, okay. 5 damage a turn. This kills them in 4 swings, but I know that I'm getting my speed going no matter what I start attacking them with, so let's try to get pilots attacking instead. See if I can't get max speed first. No, Grease Wrench Goblin? Discard, I mean, it can discard 2, draw 2, but if they do that, they still only trigger monument once because they don't get to do the same ability twice. So they have to do the discards in 2 separate turns. So they go for the draw card there. Zahur. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is enough to play Pilot and Zahur for 2 blockers up here. Raise my speed. I would not be doing this if I couldn't have 2 blockers up. If I could only have 1 blocker up, I would not attack with Pilot here. I should have cast Zahur instead first to play around the counter unless I pay 4. But they don't have it. I think if they had it, they'd probably still counter Deathless Pilot. That way, if I didn't have another creature, they jam in. Dang, Grim Bubble. Goodbye, Zahur. Please don't be double removal. But that is sad. Zahur can't sack himself. So I can't surveil. That's the surveil too towards the cycling cards. I can't believe I'm still alive right now. So I will take however much I can get here. However long I live from this point. Speed 3. Deathless Pilots MVPs. Again, with Regent in hand, I think I have to be making these little trip damages here instead of holding up 2 blockers. Trying to play around like haste plus removal. I still feel like we're always just a razor's edge from dying to just cycling card past cycling card anyway. So it does feel better to be working on the speed. No, the lightning strike. I'm dead to like a light breeze now. And then cycler. All right, you got me. Monument to endurance, just absurdly good this game. Having the board wipe that blows everything but the monument up means I don't think there's any way we can play this to win. About as far as we could get there. We did have max speed for Knuckle Regent the next turn, so it just took them a little bit longer to find the cycler. We only needed probably 3 more turns to definitely kill them, because then 4, 11, boom. There's a 5, 7 more power on the board from Knuckle Regent alone next turn. Yeah. All right. It is what it is. That is 1-1 heading to game 3. Here we are for game 3. Unfortunately, we're on the draw, but this is a good hand for raising the speed up. We start our engines on turn 2. We have a flyer turn 3 or a risky shortcut, which is a guaranteed way to raise your speed, even if your opponent has infinite blockers up. So this is really good. This is the kind of stuff we want to see for the opening hands for the early game here. Just a bunch of cheap stuff to slam out on the board. Swamp, turn 1 from opponent. Green, black. Here's Lean and Surveyor. Our speed is started no matter what. And it's the first striking attacker, so the best one at getting in. Okay, Villowheart Bike, gain some life. They've got a mana rock now. They are on Sultai, blue, green, and black. Jam in. Ether Jacket. Next turn I can double Deathless Pilot. I don't think I'm spending Ether Jacket on a bike here when it can be getting flying chip damage in. Oof. That's brutal. 4 color 2. Swamp Forest Island. Red source from bike. Gross. Natural. Not natural, because they did hit a mana rock, but 4 colors of mana turn 4. Play the 5-drop reach blocker on us turn 4. On the play, too. So the 5-mana blocker while I got... had 3 lands out there. Man. Yeah, that's quite the brick. So let's just shortcut go to 3 speed and see if we can't find some way to work on dealing with that. We do have answers in this deck. Those are not answers. Tap land then. Another black source, I suppose. So I got 3 white sources right now. Cool. Alright. I'm not particularly happy right now. Like, 1 Thunder Headgunner does just blank all these attacks. And it digs through their deck. Anything that isn't relevant, they just get to discard and draw a card looking for their bombs pretty quickly. Okay, Hellride's not crazy, is it? Untaps 1 creature on the attack. It is whenever you attack with anybody, so 1 creature is vigilant every turn. Yeah, it gets the gunner going in and holding up his blocker. That's not good. Gunner, Hellride, Bike. About to lose to a very bold mana base here, but that's just how things go. If you hit the colors, you get a lot of raw power playing a 4-color deck like that. I just don't have anything through Gunner. Can set up the double block for it, I guess, this turn. So our main outs right now are Gallant Strike, Perilous Snare, and Speed Demon. Those are the biggest hopes to draw into. We have other decent draws, but those are, I think, the only ones that would basically immediately flip the board in our favor. All right, well, show me the combat trick here. It's not horrific if they have it, because Deathless Pilot can just come back later, so we're only really down one card. And obviously the block is so good if they don't have the combat trick that we just go for it here. None of these creatures are super relevant on the crackbacks anyway. Fang Guardian, sure. And I got 2/2s to block that on blocks, so that's fine. Web Strike Elite as well. Okay, so now I can't even, like, try to Aether Jacket the Hell Ride to make it so they can't keep attacking with Gunner, because now if they attack with Gunner, even if they don't untap it, they just have a 3/3 reach up to block my flyer. Although I guess if I sack the Aether Jacket, I no longer have a flyer anyway. But the Godlight Synergist, I guess, could get blocked by a 3/3 reach. And I don't have enough artifacts that this would be a relevant attacker without the Aether Jacket out. So I don't think there's a massive point in Aether Jacketing the Hell Ride here over going 4-drop, 2-drop, and playing as many blockers as possible. The million combat trick hand, I guess. You can't just let it all through. I mean, I'm at 13, I'd be letting 8 through. Wow, yeah. Rough. Double green, double black, blue black, red. The mana has just been so good for our opponent this game. I mean, maybe had we just Aether Jacketed the bike as soon as we got the Aether Jacket down, maybe we'd have had something there. This is ridiculous. I just feel like we got completely blanked. But it is what it is. I don't think this is a horrific sign for our deck. I think things just lined up so poorly these first two games. I mean, we hit a single removal spell in the opening hand this game. Like, just one of our removal spells that can kill Gunner, like our Perilous Snare, or Spectacular Pileup, and I think we would probably have won this game, because it took them so long from the time they cast Thunderhead Gunner to the time that they cast Web Strike Elite. We would have 100% had maximum speed for Necro Region off of the Aether Jacket and just, like, went all the way to town from there. So, I mean, despite how incredibly losing of a game it is right now, I think it would have been a quite winning game with just, like, one draw going differently. Not have needed all that many cards to change the course of this game. Just one particularly important one. There's the reanimation there. And there's the top deck land for us. Oops. We have to play the pilot as the chumper here, or they can Broodheart Engine the Fang Druid and hit for 5. So I have to just go pilot on chumps. rather than setting up double pilot trying to get a double block later, because then I just die. Another Thunderhead Gunner, gross. Fashionably late Gallant Strike is the death of me here. And that's 0-2 to start it off. Again, I think things have just been lining up really badly. I don't think this deck is actually that bad. We had Gallant Strike, Perilous Snare, and either of those super wins that game. Spectacular Pile Up obviously really wins that game. Yeah, I mean, these draws have just not been what we're looking for. That's part of Magic, especially sealed. I still like this deck a lot. I'm gonna run it back. Sick and strong. 0-2 heading into game number 3. Or sorry, 1-2 heading into game 3. Canyon Vaulter into Aether Jacket into Synergist off of any lands, because I've already got the white sources. We have 9 black sources in the deck, 8 Swamps and Night Market versus only 6 sources that are exclusively white at this point. So 50% more likely to hit black than white right now. And any land is still good towards Aether Jacket and then still good towards Synergist. I think I keep this, but like just barely. And this is the hope here. Vaulter to Aether Jacket to Synergist, and just as things tend to go, we draw a double black spell as the first draw of the game. The only double black spell in the entire deck. Top deck a second black spell. Pass the turn with the 3-1 on board. We still have one more draw step until we are actually affected by missing these land drops. There's River Turn Monument, so if we don't kill them quick, we're locked in to lose the long game to mill. That mills me 2 every turn, and then it mills me equal to the cards in graveyard to mill me insanely huge. Basically, I'm dead in 6 turns, right? Mill 2 5 times in a row, that's 10 mill. Then exhaust it, that's mill another 10. That's 20 cards milled at the bare minimum in 6 turns. That's if I haven't played any other cards or traded any other cards, which if we have to cast some removal spells and trade some creatures, then that's how, you know, that gets to be the whole deck, right? Got a Speed Demon coming up, and I just have to go for killing them as quickly as possible here against River Churn Monument. This feels like start my engines and try to speed them up. Worst case scenario, Canyon Vaulter for Vanguard is not a super bad trade. Could bounce off the Vaulter, I guess. It's another scenario. Okay, they're just going to mill me too. What about the blocks? Now I have a Surveyor to draw a card if they let me get to max speed. Okay. Really good draw that turn, by the way. We did hit the swamp. So currently, technically not punished by the land draws at all. That's the 3 mana turn 3. That's the black source turn 3. There's the run over for Zahur, so we don't get to go crazy with that, but it still started our engines and got that chain rolling for the Speed Demon. Okay, a land on turn 4. Can double spell it with Engine Rat and Aether Jacket. So that feels better than a 1/4 Synergist right now. So send in the Vaulter. If they have the cycle give something -3/-0 draw a card, that's pretty rough. They do not. We're at speed number 3 now. Here's Engine Rat. I think I'd be cooler with them countering that than Aether Jacket, and because it's a counter unless we pay 4, they could counter either one, regardless of what order we cast them in, if they have the counter target creature spell in this format. Bounce off the Aether Jacket, fair. And here's the River Churn. 5 cards in grave now. Deathless Pilot's a good one. I mean, theoretically, if the game goes long enough, but if it does, probably milled out by the time I can even afford to spend mana on that. Wow. River Churn Monument, Possession Engine. I thought this sealed pool was good, and I'm getting absolutely exploded right now. Possession Engine can get crewed off of Vanguard plus Rats, and they have a 5/5 blocker up against the 3/1. They're at 14. Speed Demon does mill me faster. I'm drawing 3 here, but it's also the only card I can cast that kills them in 3 swings, period. So we just do it. All right. Cross our fingers. Hope for the best. This is our absolute best shot. Jam Speed Demon in 3 times. The draws were absolutely perfect, by the way. We hit all of the mana up to turn 5. I think without perfect draws, there's just no shot against this start. Monument, Engine, Ketradon. So I'm really happy with how we've drawn so far. They've even just tapped out a Monument 2 turns in a row, which makes the kill a little slower on us. But that is a 6/6 blocker for the 5/5 Speed Demon. I do have Grim Bauble, which awkwardly I think I do genuinely have to just pre-combat Bauble so that I can declare this attack with Speed Demon and either trample over for 1 and kill it or just hit for 5. But now I do have to hit them 4 turns in a row. Which is going to be difficult, but again, there's been a couple turns that they haven't milled us with Monuments, so it is slightly possible to get the outrace here. Not particularly likely, but slightly possible, and I will take that if that's the best I can get. Canyon Vaulter can send the Rambler into the sky, so if Speed Demon can just draw me something that can kill Ketradon, then I do kill them quite quickly at this point. I guess the Locust Spray is enough to have Ketradon trade into Speed Demon, and then I get to use the card advantage to try to win the game in the next couple turns from there. But how long do I actually have? 6 cards in grave. They can mill 12 right now. I don't have time. I have 2 swings maximum. I need to be able to kill them within my next 2 attacks. The best bet is just top deck the removal for Ketradon right now. Attack for 10 in the sky. Make them lose 2 with Risky Shortcut, and that's game. So I think we just untap, cast Risky Shortcut, and hope it hits the removal. Aww. Oh, kill the Thopter instead of the Rambler. Oh, they don't have the 5 mana to kill the Rambler. Okay. Yeah. I think however hard they hit me, we just make sure it's not lethal. And I just go for the 1 swing kill at this point. That's the best bet. Okay, they don't hit me at all. Oh, Risky Shortcut hits. Well, what have they milled? They have milled no removal. So if Risky Shortcut hits Perilous Snare or Quag Feast, Perilous Snare, Quag Feast, or Gallant Strike, we win. Oh, alternatively, I have 8 cards in grave from River Churn Monument, 13 cards in deck. Speed Demon draws me 4. That puts me to 9 cards in deck and 8 cards in grave. If a single other card goes into my graveyard at any point within now and their turn, then I mill out and I don't even get another turn, period. The only way I get another attack is to make absolutely certain nothing else goes into my graveyard at all. which I feel like there's just basically no way to try to set that up. Right, because if I just go for the Speed Demon trade for Ketradon, then I have that engrave and Locust Spray engrave. I don't draw the 4 anymore, but I think that still just gets me with River Churn. I think it's just shortcut or bust. For lethal. Quag Feast. Quag Feast would do it if they do not have interaction. Oh no, they have one more life than I thought. Oh, because the Thopter's not here anymore. I was counting the Thopter as damage earlier. No. It's literal one-off because they could kill the Thopter. I'm sad I didn't notice that till now, but there was no shot. Again, we did the math on the mill. I milled down to 1 card here if I try to do anything else. At absolute best, if I cast 0 spells, I mill down to 1 card here. Oh my god. 1 life away? Man. That's just how it goes sometimes. Sealed is a rough high variance format. I mean, maybe there's a 1-drop I'm not thinking of. Just cycle this. But press X to doubt. Yeah, there's the planes. Put them to 1 and die. Absolutely tragic. River Churn Monument is a real magic card. Literally the top card on my deck, dude, was the Perilous Snare, which still would have been lethal. Because I didn't have the mana to cast it here, so I would have lost. Even if I drew it there. But if I drew that at the start of my turn, that would have exiled the reach creature and put a +1/+1 counter onto one of my flyers and been exact lethal. So the fact that it was the top card of my deck when I milled out and died is depressing. Because if it was the draw this turn, that was still a card that would have actually hit the kill for us. Yeah, that's a brutal one. I mean, our sealed pool was so strong, there were definitely multiple ways to build this deck. So you could say with like perfect hindsight, maybe like the blue-red deck or something has a better matchup against what we ended up getting paired against. But there's no way to know what decks we will get paired against. So we could have always built the blue-red deck and then played against stuff that was really good against that, but black-white would have been better against, you know, decks with very little early game plays and stuff like that. Like, there's really no way to know 100% for sure which build would have played out the absolute best when you don't know what opponents you're going to play against 100%. Maybe the scrap compactors actually should have been in here. I think that's the biggest thing we could probably change. I did feel low on removal, like every game, but like this technically like perfectly solid on removal, and we just kind of didn't draw it. I mean, the Grim Baubles and the Locust Spray weren't incredibly relevant because I think every time we had to kill something, it was always like really big stuff. But I mean, all of these are at least removal against small cards, and these 4 can blow up the big stuff too. Yeah, I don't know. This deck felt way better than it actually did. I think it is way better than a 1-3 on average for sure. Just rough variance. That's definitely a part of sealed, especially best of 1 sealed like this. But it is what it is. That's how the cookie crumbles for us today. Again, other very viable ways to build this sealed pool, but I think they all end in a very similarly powerful deck. It just all depends on what matchups you get in, what draws you get. I don't feel like we built a super bad deck here. This is certainly one of the most powerful decks we could have built in the sealed pool. It may not have gotten us the wins in the end. It may have had a really bad run. That's just part of life. That's part of Magic. You win some, you lose some. and we did not win some today. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you could always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.